Hey guys, it's Matt. Andre said he was going to do it, and it showed up. The Peter Stuyvesant T-shirt is here. Came in the mail a few days ago. No mention of cigarettes or anything like that. That's some sort of trademark violation. Probably have 4,000 lawyers all over us. But I mean, I don't think he bought this or anything. I think he put this together. Andre, thank you. Probably got a picture of New York City. Has the WTC in there. Has a building that represents the bridge from the WTC to the Jabba Dabba Doo. I think it might be either probably the Empire State Building, not the Chrysler Building. So it has the WTC. It has a Jabba Dabba Doo building that bridges the two events, and it has Peter Stuyvesant. Peter Stuyvesant, the first, I don't know, I guess governor of New Netherland, which is New York City in the mid 1600s. Peter Stuyvesant, a honorable and distinguished gentleman, was the first governor, or whatever you might call him, of New Netherland, which is Manhattan, New York City. Now, that's strange to me. I was just looking at, we're going to actually go into the Wikipedia of Peter Stuyvesant and Peter Stuyvesant cigarettes, and both are, worth a few laughs. But I would have said it was New Amsterdam. I'm not saying this is some gigantic Mandela effect for me, but I thought it was New Amsterdam, and now, well, not now, but he's the governor of New Netherland, which again, that's just a little strange for me. Better picture if anybody wants to see it up close to see what um, I'm coding in from the Illuminati window Chernobyl control center sent to me by Andre. Andre, we'll pull it off. Nobody but our secret society brothers will get the coded message that you left me in the T-shirt. Thank you very much. Um, Now, for those that have only been here a year or a year and a half or so, you might be saying, why is this name Peter Stuyvesant, why does it keep being affiliated or associated with this channel? Like, that's a code. What are you dropping there? Well, look, it all started. Let me just be, I'll show the video sometime. I don't think I'm going to show it today, but I'll show it very soon. You can't look at that commercial enough. It started probably about 2 years ago when Paul sent me a commercial from a Peter Stuyvesant cigarette commercial. Most of you have seen. I'll show it again within a week or two. You can't look at it enough. A cigarette commercial was shown in, I believe, in the Netherlands before a movie would, before a movie was shown. A movie theaters in the Netherlands in the late 70s. A brief commercial for Peter Stuyvesant cigarettes. As far as it's not in English. As far as we know, it wasn't shown all throughout Europe. Just some little ad for cigarettes before a movie. But it had at least six major predictive programming elements for the 2001 A 7-Eleven Odyssey event in 2001. So we started talking. I had always we always I guess dabbled in the concept of retrocausality, but that when Paul sent that to me, it really got me interested and put me over the edge into taking retrocausality seriously, which I've been doing for about 2 years. And every time I look at it closely, the evidence lines up that retrocausality is real. And what that means in this sense, at least the Peter Stuyvesant cigarette commercial from the late 70s, shown before Star Wars was run in Amsterdam, or before Raiders of the Lost Ark or something, and it had six, at least six, if not more, predictive elements for the big event, 2001: A 7-Eleven Odyssey. So just to we'll move off this topic very quickly, guys. But in the old days of truth analysis, 2010 up probably through 2015, the only thing we could come up with is every single predictive programming, every single predictive element in any form of art or media that represented or referenced the big events coming, that was all called in and planted, of course, by the secret societies. Every bit of it was planted and laid down. And over time, that sliding scale has shifted to where, retrocausality elements have to be taken seriously, where there is, linear time goes out in one direction only per our senses and our perceptions. Major events where potentially billions of people with focused consciousness on that event potentially affects the past. And you could say that inside that Peter Stuyvesant cigarette ad, when somebody actually watched it in the 70s, there weren't any predictive elements for what was coming 2001, a 7/11 Odyssey. It rippled back through time, and the effects of 2001, a 7/11 Odyssey rippled, of course, through the future. I mean, you have to go to the airport, you have to take your shoes off still, I think. I don't know. I don't go to too many airports, but obviously it will always ripple out in the future. The effects will always be felt, but it actually ripples. These events ripple back in the past as well. And even if you don't go all the way in terms of believing, the retrocausal aspects of time, and time can flow in both directions, and the past can actually change based on events in the now or in the future, then you still potentially will go here and say, well, time potentially is all laid down on top of each other. There's no such thing as time, and it's just the consciousness needle, the needle put on the record player. The consciousness needle tells you where you are in time. It's all on top of each other. So other people may say that it was channeled to a degree. It was channeled. The person that put together the Peter Stuyvesant cigarette commercial, they nobody called them from the Illuminati window Chernobyl control center and said, you need to put these elements in this little commercial before the movie's shown. And some would say they channeled it to a degree. Um, because time seems to be linear, but everything is stacked on top of each other. The event, to that person is just right around the corner, or it's right there as they were filming in New York. I mean, it's happening as they're there. If time is, and they basically channeled it. It's like, where should we shoot this? Them coming out of the store. Should we be on this side of the street or this side of the street? And the director might have said, that side of the street seems good. But then guess what's behind it? The WTC. Then in making that decision, they're not thinking anything about the WTC. They just kind of channeled it. Yeah, let's go over here, and that WTC pops up behind them without anybody being aware of what's happening. That's just another way that people explain it that I keep on the table. But the big thing about it is, it was the first major example from, and thank you again, Paul, for sending this to us, that totally blows away like the secret societies just call it in, and the cabal just calls everything in and coordinates everything, with men and women running around sending faxes. We had been getting away from that. Like, so this group of people keeps pulling this stuff off on all different facets the ruse extends throughout every facet of society, and they just keep pulling the ruse off over and over and over again, just regular people. I mean, how many times have we talked about this? But it's fascinating. It's almost like you can't talk about it enough. I know you guys probably get sick of it. I can't talk about it enough. It's fascinating. So we were getting away from that anyway. No, regular people aren't pulling this off time after time after time after time, conspiracy after conspiracy, all covered up, covered up, covered up, paid and threatened, paid and threatened. No, we were getting away from it anyway. But that was the big catalyst, the Peter Stuyvesant commercial. I've talked about it so much. I'll show it, not in this video. I'll show it pretty soon, where you say, this wasn't a major Matt. Well, why couldn't it have been called in? If it was the major Peter Stuyvesant commercial shown throughout all of Europe for a 3-year period or something like that, then you could say, okay, maybe. But it was just some little 2-bit nothing commercial. It didn't run very long. Showed and again, nobody has ever come back and corrected us saying, Matt, it wasn't just shown in movie theaters. It was a huge commercial throughout the Netherlands and other European countries. Nobody's said that. Nobody's corrected us. So it was just some little 2-bit commercial in a movie theater. No, I don't think the Illuminati window, the Chernobyl Control Center, was real interested in that and called all that in. So these, to me, are the retrocausal elements, which were channeled. I don't think there's that much difference, because the channeling would be the only way to, I mean, the people that do the commercial, they're not all psychic. I mean, the only way they would be able to channel is if time is, what we suspect. It's just like, it's everything is basically laid on top of each other. And the example I used in the book, the book Quantum of Conscience. It's just a have bought that book. Many people have bought that. Not I make Amazon sends me a check for like literally $8 or $9 a month. I mean, not many people are, but over the years, people have bought that thinking that is the conspiracy book. And what I read on YouTube, it's just a fun it's just a fun fiction book about college students at the University of Vienna, um, lucid dreaming, and at the end some time travel. But yeah, it's just a fun fiction book about three college students. It's not the conspiracy book. I would never even think about putting that on Amazon. But but I did have to try to explain time travel the best that I could in that book, and I talked about time being the best example being a record player, and all the music is all laid down on the record player. And again, I'm not overly confident that this is exactly how time works. I think this is generally how time works, but again, I use this more to explain how they accomplish the time travel in the fiction book Quantum of Conscience. All on a black LP vinyl record, all the songs are there. There is no song one or song five on side A. It's all where you put the needle. There's no song one or five. You drop the needle here, song three plays, song four. So I think time is very much like that. It's all laid down, and but I know people might be saying, "Well, Matt, that that totally destroys free will, and everything then is fated if all of time is laid down. It's just I hear you, just where you drop the needle. That's in it's how do we describe time? And in the general sense, that's the best I can do. It's all there. It's all on top of each other, and it's just where you drop the needle. That's what plays. In this case, the needle represents consciousness, a consciousness of a real five-fingered being. I'm not going to say human anymore. A real generated being with consciousness is the needle of the record. This is pretty important, if not important, fascinating topic to talk about time. So let's just talk about time, or what I believe it is, and what the smartest people believe it is, before we go make fun of Peter Stuyvesant, the governor, whatever, what was it, governor of New Netherland, which to me was New Amsterdam, whatever, governor, whatever he was, head honcho. We'll make fun of him in a minute, but it's not like terribly important to understand time in the snow globe for our spiritual journey, but it's a fascinating topic, and it does give you a sense as to how fake everything is, and how little stock we should put into all the stress, worry, and anxiety that this world asks us to put our attention on. So it's just one more thing that, in the fake category. So it's like, why am I getting stressed out over this? Why am I getting stressed out over that? So, first off, the smartest people generally believe that, of course, this experience of time is very limited to inside this snow globe or this earthly experience. So outside, if you had anything like a spiritual guide outside of this incarnation, or your higher self or God or anything outside of here that real people like us are still connected to, the whole reality system is just out to cut the connection. We'll talk about that some other time. It's good to reiterate that. The whole reality system is about just simply cutting your spiritual connection with the side of you that's not here. The whole thing can be summed up in one sentence. You've got endless YouTube channels analyzing, thousands of pages of symbolism, and for what? Well, for what? It's one sentence. So anyway, so that's what it's out to do. So for anything that's not here in this earthly system, the smartest people, whatever they get their information from, a near-death experience or after-death experience or wherever it may be, it's instantaneous to them. We come in here, it seems like 80 years, but it's instantaneous. It's not a half a second in and out of the closet, this life experience. To anybody that's not going in with us, it's instantaneous, in and out. And that theme is repeated over and over again. But so that does mesh with the theory, like the record player theory, that all of time, all the songs are already laid into the vinyl. Consciousness is the needle of the record and where you place it. So, if what does your inner knowing tell you about when did some Neanderthal caveman, if you believe anything about Darwinism, we're not going to sidetrack into that nonsense, but there was some, there are ancient peoples, whether you believe in caveman, Neanderthal man or not, there are people that lived a long time ago. Did they really live a long time ago? Or, to me, they didn't, they live right now, right next to us, almost like they're in another dimension. It's just your needle is on song three and is playing that music. Your needle of consciousness is translating that music on song three. Hopefully, it's not, um, you know, hopefully it's not Justin Bieber or something like that. I see his. We need to look at the YouTube numbers and how absurd some of these numbers are in terms of subscribers and Rihanna, Justin Bieber, uh, billions and billions of views. I, I don't buy it. I mean, is he really that good? We'll talk about it some other time. So your song is playing here. I think it's all on the record together. All of time is just on top of each other. Whatever ancient quote ancient man experienced, that's just his or her needle on another song. It seems like it's so distant from you, but it's all laid down on the same record. And the biggest problem, people, I think, with their inner knowing would be, you would generally say, the old guard would generally say, that's generally how it works. But the biggest problem people are going to have with that sort of explanation about time is fatalism or fate or no free will. And Matt, okay, you're dropping your needle of consciousness. Well, the song that's going to play next is already laid in, and you're just going to play it. And there's actually about 10%, I believe, of this community, maybe 5%, pretty hardcore that there is no free will. It is fate. You simply are here to have an experience, but it is fated out for you. And I don't believe that. I don't believe that because the creeps work too hard to try to put you on a certain path. I think if it was all faded out, they wouldn't need to work hard. They would kind of get a sense that they don't have to work hard. They work too hard for it to be fate. But the biggest problem anybody's going to have with this explanation is the fate aspect. So I think I think the best way to describe that would be from our perspective, or anybody waking up, or anybody that's truly understanding who they are as like some quantum generator being in this reality snow globe system. You can change the music coming for you. It's again it's in we're talking about in general. It's all laid down on the record. You can change maybe three Rolling Stones songs are coming for you on the record, or that what was coming for me in 1996 when I was living in Los Angeles working for the big insurance company. But you change your life and change your trajectory, the songs coming change for you. It'll ripple out and it ripples back like a retro causal. There's actually people, very smart people, and I've never dabbled in this and I don't understand it, but I'm just telling you, there are very smart people, a few that actually say you can actually change your past and your recollection of the past, but that's straying pretty far into the weeds. So um, it's not, there is no, you can change if you're on, see, that's where the frequency comes into the reality frequency. If you can tune everybody to that frequency where we talk about they accept the download, or on the radio dial, the FM dial, 94.1 is the stupid sports station here. So that's the first one that always pops into my mind. Used to be a good rock and roll station called WYSP. I think it's WIP. That all they do is Eagles talk. Eagles. Eagles. They scream it into the phone before games on Sunday. And Mark has noticed. Mark, friend of the channel, has noticed that they're huge on the spraying, um, right in and around and before football games. Since he said that, I've been watching, and yeah, I mean, they come a lot now. In the middle of this sea thing, we had incredible clear skies, mostly for about a 6 month period, and we have to talk about what the relationship was there. There was definitely a relationship, but the skies recently, last month or so, have been like kind of like as bad as we remember. So since Mark said that, I've been noticing, and it does seem like they do go to work on a Sunday. But so in terms of time, though, um, it seems like, if they can put you, I guess what I was going to say, if they can put you on the frequency, tune you down the dial, then you accept whatever whatever music the record's going to play next. You go along with it. It's like taking the download. Why did, people, I'll talk about some people that emailed me a little bit of information about how they generally agree with my presentation about Simone Biles, how there's just no way somebody at that level just at the moment of the competition gets this sort of problem and can't flip in the air just days before. And this is, a couple smart people that know the industry agreed with me that there's just no way. But then we think, well, how does she go along with it? And we don't have a very good. How does Lane Johnson go along with it? If they're going to push out the mental health in sports mantra and they're going to try to propagate that, well, how does Lane Johnson go along with it? That was just the one example I used from the Philadelphia Eagles, but there are all these sports stars saying they have mental health issues, and so they all, in the old days, all we had was, well, the men in black came in and talked to them and said, you're going to do this and you're going to fake this, and it just doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. It's like those that tune themselves onto the frequency. The reality works hard to tune themselves. People want to see what Zara is doing. Zara, the chair wasn't expensive, but don't rip it up. Sorry, we'll go over here to Bootsy. Hey, Bootsy. Um, how do they go along with it? It's almost like if they can get you to tune to that frequency, you will go along with whatever they want. You become almost like a zombie in action without really being a zombie. I don't know any way to describe it, but it's much better description than everybody's in on it and everybody knows they're faking it and they just have to be quiet and they were talked to by the men in black, and there's just too many people, millions of people, quote, in on everything, propagating the fraud and deception in every area, where there's obviously you would need armies and armies of people running around, paid and threatened. They just do it somehow. There's no other. Download isn't a good description. Bootsy, come back. Download isn't a good description of what's happening, but we don't have anything better right now. But actually, it's getting in the ballpark where if it can put you on the frequency, maybe because you've given so much of yourself away, or we're moving continuously off the frequency, tuning ourselves on the dial. If we have to be on the dial in this earthly system, we have to be okay. We're tired. We're done trying to follow cats around. I know a lot of people like to see the cats, but if they make an appearance, they make an appearance. We have to be on the earthly dial too while we're in this body and avatar, but we're moving so far up to the end, at least as far as we can get away from that lower level FM signal where everybody just goes along with what the reality wants, believes in everything the reality says to believe in, like the guy down the cul-de-sac, your Aunt Ginny and your best friend. So in terms of time, um, it seems like, they have a general sense, the creeps of these events will be coming, like 2001, a 7/11, a Space Odyssey, and or will they? How many people can they tune to the frequency so they can actually make these events come to fruition? And I know this isn't making a lot of sense, and I don't truly understand it myself, and I need to organize my thoughts. But the best way to say it is, we've talked in the truth community about the book of Revelation. And for some strange reason, and many of the old guard, I know you're going to shake your head at this and agree, and I can't really explain it, but the best way to say it is they're trying to make Revelation play out somehow, like tribulation, that what between the two eclipses, between two ferns. Of course, that it's all related. I don't know what between two ferns mean, but is that some sort of relationship to their two into one weird religion? Probably. In between two ferns, Zach Gulfaka, whatever Gakis or whatever his name is. Obama's fielding questions between two ferns. Well, give me a break. Um, so between two eclipses, Exactly, of course, what a coincidence. 7 years makes X across the United States. Um, we'd be kind of like smack in the middle of it now, and it's not going too well out our window, and that's kind of so it's like they try to act it out to make if they can tune everybody to the right frequency, they can what they want acted out and played out in terms of the songs coming on the record, they can make happen. If enough people jump ship, literally jump off the ship of fools, then it won't play out. That's I guess maybe potentially explains why they work so hard because they need consciousness focused at their sick FM dial frequency to deliver the songs that are coming on the record that they want delivered, if that makes any sense. But, most people are just happy to go along with it, and only a few like us have jumped ship a long time ago or off the. I guess we can't, as long as we're in this body, in this avatar, we're never going to be completely off the FM dial of this place, but we're as far away from the sick noise, the dissonance of wherever their radio station broadcasts from, as far away from it as possible. So anyway, that's a long enough on time. Um, it's a trick of the senses. It's not linear. It works in both directions, in my opinion. It's probably everything's all on top of it. It's all about perception, where you put the needle of consciousness, time, and everything. All events are basically on top of each other, and it's just the only thing we understand about it is what the senses tell us, and the senses are complete liars in every regard. It's and even that the governors put on the human body and on the governors in terms of the special abilities that five-fingered beings should have. The same the body also has probably been manipulated over how many years, so the senses deliver less of the truth. We have that uphill battle to fight. Like if we didn't already have uphill battles. All right, guys, let's try to go over and make fun of Peter Stuyvesant for a few minutes. Try to get a few laughs. Okay, here we are. Peter Stuyvesant, or closer to the original Dutch, Peter Stuyvesant. Guys, the Dutch language is not easy. It makes German seem simple. I was in Amsterdam for 3 or 4 days once when we went over to Amsterdam and then to the Oktober Fest when we were in our early 20s. You want to talk about a hurt yourself tour. Oh my, I was sick as a dog when I flew back. 9 hours in the air flying back after partying, just sick. Oh, it was the worst flight. And then I land in Atlanta, and then I have another hour and a half layover and 6 more hours almost back to Los Angeles. I just literally wanted to crawl up into a hole. But I should tell that whole story sometime. But anyway, the Dutch, the Holland, Dutch, Netherlands language is just. I don't know if I understood one word. Did you remember in it's not old school. It's Eurotrip, the safe word where bring out the Fluggeschichte and he pulls out the safe word and it's just like 16 or 18 letters of just nonsense that he has no chance of pronouncing as an American. That's actually not that ridiculous. There are words like that. So anyway, so this is Peter Stuyvesant, and let's take a look at. Wow, if I just showed you that and you knew nothing else, would you think that's Dr. Frankenstein or his monster? I mean, which one would you think? I don't know. I don't know. Probably the way he's dressed, you would say the doctor, but if it was just a headshot, you'd say the monster. So I've got to be careful. If he does have a relative that's a multi billionaire hedge fund manager. So I've got to be, who knows how close of ties that the relative may have to the actual Peter Stuyvesant. And if people just leapt up out of their bathtub. Matt, it's the same entity, of course. It's the same incarnation. The hedge fund manager now named Coleman, who's worth 10 billion, which that makes perfect sense. You should be able to get to 10 billion just playing in stocks. That makes perfect sense. It's the same entity. It probably is. Okay, I give you that. It's a what would Tony say? It's a sequential incarnation. He has full memories of nights on the town as Peter Stuyvesant in 1600. This guy Coleman, who's his great 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 nephew or whatever. Anyway, so it says he's 60. He was the governor or something, a Dutch colonial officer who served as the last Dutch. Oh, he's the director general. Sorry, like what's the difference? Director general and the colony of New Netherland, which to me was New Amsterdam, from 1647 until it was ceded provisionally to the English in 1664. 1647 to 1664. It's one of those stories. The Indians gave it away for like 20 cents, all of Manhattan. The English probably got it from the Dutch for like $5. But, the threat of war, to me, it's one world system that goes back thousands of years. So I'm never going to get into a serious conversation about this country did that or this country did this. The one world creeps have been here a long time. I don't think it's worth anybody's time trying to figure out what country did what or to who in whatever year it was. Okay, guys, get this. He was a major figure in the early history of New York City, and his name has been given to various landmarks and points of interest throughout the city. Stuyvesant High School, Stuyvesant Town, Bedford Stuyvesant neighborhood. Now, I clicked on the link so you don't have to. Stuyvesant High School is named, they call it Stewie, and I'll give you three guesses, but you're only going to need one. How K at uncanny deduction would be like the fractal reality all weaves in and among itself. It's one of the major headings if you click over to Stuyvesant High School is it was founded in whatever hundreds of years ago, and it's a very respected preparatory school. It was destroyed during the 2001 7/11 Odyssey event because it was so close to that area down by Wall Street. It was destroyed during 7/11, a Space Odyssey event in 2001. And fractal reality one thing, is anybody surprised that just a few clicks into investigating Peter Stuyvesant, there's a direct relationship to the 2001 event and the destruction of the high school which bears his name. This is just the way reality works. You get a sense when you research something that something this is on the other side of the borderline of where, this is kind of where the creeps dabble. You only need a few clicks to find all these weird connections in the fractal reality and how it does business. So Stuyvesant High School they call Stewie. It's like the Family Guy character. And do they have I mean, it's this prestigious college preparatory, but do they have a basketball team or do they have any sports teams? Is Stewie feared when the basketball team comes into play? Like Upper Brooklyn's like, who do we got on Friday night? Stewie's coming in to ruin our perfect record. They probably don't even have any sports teams. So whatever, let's just keep going. Stuyvesant's accomplishments as Director General included a great expansion for the settlement of New Amsterdam. Now it's New Amsterdam. I guess the whole thing's called New Netherland and the Manhattan's New Amsterdam. That's what it is. So first accomplishment listed on Wikipedia, great expansion for the settlement of New Amsterdam beyond the southern tip of Manhattan. Well, it's 1650. What was it? He was in office 1647 to 1664. What do you think was out there beyond the southern tip of Manhattan in 1650? There wasn't nothing out there, dude. There wasn't nothing there. So that's a great accomplishment, the expansion. Me and Greg, when he's not even feeling good, and a couple people could go out and expand that territory. What was there? The Delaware Indians, the Iroquois, the Mohawks, the other eastern tribes, little sub-bands of these eastern. He had a navy and an army and guns. There wasn't nothing there anyway. So it wasn't like all the land was bought up by Berkshire Hathaway. I mean, give me a break. So anybody could expand what was south of Manhattan because you wouldn't find even another living soul until you get down in the Philadelphia area, and that was the Quakers. Ben Franklin wasn't even born yet. That's some great expansion. He could send Han Solo out on his tauntaun. Just send one guy out, a Han Solo out on his tauntaun, and it could expand anything south of Manhattan. Whatever. Let's move on. Among the projects built by Stuyvesant's administration were the protective wall on Wall Street. The uncanny deduction, the fractal reality just keeps weaving. It keeps getting in my face, in my business. It keeps weaving. So this guy, because his great nephew is a multi-billionaire worth 10 billion, a Wall Street hedge fund trader. And this is the guy that built the protective wall on Wall Street where it got its damn name. And then that, through the fractal reality, extends to a 10 billionaire hedge fund jerk. Unbelievable. The canal that, and then it was also the canal that became Broad Street and Broadway. Broadway. Every single musical you've ever seen, you can lay at the feet of Stuyvesant. You should, if you're going up to see Hamilton, waste your money doing that. You should say a little prayer for Stuyvesant. Without Stuyvesant, you wouldn't see your Hamilton. They Book of Mormon. Is that still going on up there? The Book of Mormon, and they should have the Book of Stuyvesant. They should have a whole the rekindling of West Side Story, a whole musical with high kicking extravaganza, high kicking can girls just laying down tribute to Peter Stuyvesant. They should have that on Broadway. It should run longer than Phantom of the Opera. It says he himself, a member of the Dutch Reformed Church, opposed religious pluralism and came into conflict with Lutherans, Jews, Roman Catholics, Quakers. He came into conflict with Lutherans, Jews, Roman Catholics, and Quakers. I mean, how many people did he piss off on? Remember what they said to Braveheart? Robert the Bruce said to Braveheart after the little meeting. He says, "If you make enemies on both sides, you'll end up dead." And he says, "We all end up dead. It's just a matter of when and where." Kind of threw Robert the Bruce off. This guy, just like just like Braveheart, William Wallace, he made enemies on all sides. I guess that's why the British took the land from him. He constantly went against them as they attempted to build places of worship in the city and practice their faiths. This guy was real tolerant. However, Stuyvesant particularly supported anti-Semitism and I got an email the other day, and I'll talk about it in the future. Matt, how come you don't talk about this group? This group that's all the world ills are attributed to this group. And every few months, Matt, why don't you talk? Oh, you must be one of them. You must be a supporter, Matt. Why don't you talk about this group? See, no, my position is very clear. I talk about the reality itself in general. The reality itself in general that's out to hide a human being from its true nature and have yourself choose to cut your spiritual ties. It has a variety of different minions. It has 100 different classifications of minions that all work together to push forth the goal of what I call the general reality itself, or I call the not milk. One group, I'm not going to bring the police lineup out like I've done 100 times and point at one group when there's hundreds of different classifications of jerks, a-holes, and minions. I think I'm crystal clear on that. But the question of why I don't point this group out over on the other side of the West Bank, it happens over and over and over again. I just shake my head because we've been over the police lineup that they want you to pick out a bad guy. It's much more of a general sense. The spiritual battle is much larger. You have to go look down at it from 100,000 feet. Anyway, early life. Peter Stuyvesant was born around 1610. Where are the records? Around 1610 in Pepperga. He was born in Pepperga or Scherpenzeel, Friesland. What? Say that 3 times fast. In the Netherlands, okay. He was born to Balthazar Stuyvesant, a Reformed Calvinist minister, and Margaretha Hardenstein. Hardenstein? Didn't it up there just said he was anti-Semitic? That don't make no sense. But he was born to Balthazar Stuyvesant? He was born to some sort of demon? Probably. Probably Balthazar. That's Beelzebul or something like that. But that's probably in the Bible too. Is another demon from hell, Balthazar. You don't see that name coming off too many birth certificates in 2020, do you? Career, blah blah blah. Oh, look at this. He has to participate in all the not milk fun and games. In 1644, he coordinated and led an attack. Yeah, it's just constant. The script is constant war. Nobody can ever live with each other. Kill your neighbor. Kill your neighbor. Here's Stuyvesant's. Somebody had painted Stuyvesant's arrival in New Amsterdam. Doesn't even get big. What's the use? Somebody captured the moment as the great Stuyvesant arrived. Here's the Peter Stuyvesant Bowery House. Bowery House. It's saying Gangs in New York, the Bowery Boys, the Battery Boys. I don't know. I got to watch Gangs in New York again. It's a pretty good movie. That Bill Cutting character, whoever Daniel Day-Lewis, it's one of the great feared characters. Literally, you're afraid of this guy, like Lecter. I mean, it's one of the great evil feared characters in all of movie history. That Bill Cutting. All right, let's go through the images and wrap this up. This is a bust of Stuyvesant by Dutch artist Toon Dubois. This is it says Petrus Stuyvesant, Director General. Made him look a little bit more handsome in the bust. The artist was very generous. They must have paid him under the table. All right, this they all got their coat of arms. Probably the billionaires probably got that thing over his couch. And when he probably lives up in the Trump Tower somewhere. This says Hamilton Fish, a governor of New York, was a descendant of Stuyvesant. Anybody surprised? Another governor, a descendant of Stuyvesant, and then the billionaire, descendant of Stuyvesant. Once you're, I guess, on that side of the line, that blood line or that line where you're kind of like probably can do no wrong. I'm not. Anybody surprised? No. It looks a little like. Does it look a little like De Blasio? A little bit. It is. It probably is the same entity if anybody's rising up out of their bathtub. This says a pear tree planted by Peter Stuyvesant. An artist captured a picture of a. It has two limbs. It looks like it's about to die. Partridge. Where's the partridge? Is that where? Is that where the 12 days of Saturnalia came from? Peter Stuyvesant. All you gotta do is put a partridge up in this mofo, in a partridge in it. Looks the things about the. It looks dead. I think it has these steel beams erected around it, probably not to keep animals away, but to keep it from falling over. A piece of shit. And this is New Amsterdam in 1664. I don't see no ancient structures. I don't see no World's Fairs here. I don't see all the ancient buildings that were these people were they just remember they just came, it was all here, right? They just came across it. They're inheritors. I don't see. I guess the person who painted this picture was in on it. There's a star fort. There's a star fort. This picture if 40 million YouTube videos want to be made about this star fort, it's under the Peter Stuyvesant heading in Wikipedia. What else is there? Oh, we're back to the Bowery House. All right, let's wrap this up by looking at the cigarettes briefly. Peter Stuyvesant is a brand of cigarettes currently owned by British American Tobacco, named after Peter Stuyvesant. The history of it: initially launched in South Africa in 1954 and later test marketed in New York in 1957. It was then launched worldwide the same year. The scent of a big wide world. Peter Stuyvesant is the famous slogan. Changed to in 1980, they changed it to, that wasn't working for them. The scent of the big wide world, Peter Stuyvesant, wasn't working for them. So they changed it to the taste of the whole wide world in 1980. British American Tobacco bought the brand in 2003. Well, no wonder the scent of the big wide world, Peter Stuyvesant, putting his name after that didn't work out. You squashed your own sales, dude. What do you think of? You think of the man letting loose. The scent of it. He just had a gigantic venison dinner in 16, whatever they hunted off the tip of Manhattan, and his jugs of blood wine, and the scent, or how it wasn't easy to bathe in 16 something. There's two nasty scents that was coming off of Peter Stuyvesant. Why the marketing genius wanted to associate with a worldwide rollout of a cigarette brand is beyond me. If they would have they would have changed it to the taste of the whole wide world, they'd be bigger than camels. So it'd be bigger than the what is it called? The Marlboro Man. This would be the Marlboro Man if they would have adopted this slogan instead of this slogan. But guys, Peter Stuyvesant, as far as I know, they're not sold here in Pennsylvania or this part of the United States anymore. I mean, I did pay attention to it when I was a kid because my mother smoked Kent's. Mostly she smoked Kent's and some other brands. So, I mean, not that I've never smoked, but I mean, I've paid attention to it from her, looking at cigarettes and going to cigarette vending machines all through when I was a kid. I've never seen Peter. Guys, please, nobody send me a pack of Peter Stuyvesants. I don't smoke. Don't thank you, but don't bother. I'm just saying I don't think they're in the United States anymore, but I guess who cares? Um, the Peter Stuyvesant Foundation. Oh, sure. Collection. Peter Stuyvesant collection. What is that? A collection of what? Shrunken heads? What does it say? They hung large scale paintings over the heads of employees. It was almost shrunken heads from the ceiling to the factory floor. These works regularly circulated between the Amsterdam headquarters and the various factories around the world. They moved these expensive paintings, probably all in the living room and den of Coleman, the great 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 nephew hedge fund manager today. All right, let's just look at some of the pictures and be done with this. Go done with this guy. Here's a says a Peter. Let's just start with the images here. A Peter Stuyvesant brand coaster. It says here. Come on, Comcast Internet. Remove the blur. Boy, the speeds of cable internet outside Philadelphia, it gives you the chills how wonderful the internet experience is. I mean, this is like 28.8 dial-up, 56.6. It's really that pathetic. It really is. Oh, it took 20 seconds to get clear. The internet's so bad here. Peter Stuyvesant filters. That's it. There's got to be some images the other way. Come on, it's still blurry. Stuyvies. They have a float. Is it the Rose Parade? Doesn't say where the float is. It's still trying to load the crystal clear image. I mean, that is people in South Korea, Seoul would laugh. They get that literally. I think Seoul, Korea is like it's like a T1 line times 10. The whole city's wired up. I guess that's good and bad, right? I hear you. Matt, you want to be closer to the AI sentient system? I hear you. I hear you. Maybe it's not such a good thing. I don't like waiting on this shit, that's all. Guess you can't do this anymore. Put a pretty girl on a float with a big, huge pack of cigarettes. There he is again. I guess that's it. That's it. So, all right, guys. Well, that was an interesting little, let's say the international passport. Oh, it's Peter Stuyvesant Filters, the international passport to smoking pleasure. Oh, boy. All right, guys. Just trying to get some laughs at the end. This was a little bit all over the place. Remember, if anything ever happens here, please go right over to Free Voice, and we're going there permanently very, very soon anyway. I don't know what I will continue to do here. Rob is creating a whole I mean, the videos are all ready to go, but in terms of what can be loaded, but he's got Howdy McCoskey and he's looking for other creators, a whole social platform where people will be able to connect, at least share your thoughts, connect with other people. I don't know what he has planned, but it's literally from a social aspect of people reaching out to people. What Rob has planned is pretty amazing, and it's very close to being rolled out at Free Voice. He's been working very hard on it for 6 months. But again, guys, there are going to be little hiccups along the way. I mean, this is literally one guy, Rob, who owns Free Voice, is trying to replace YouTube from the truth perspective, a place where we all can go, speak freely, connect with one another. You know, there are going to be some hiccups from time to time. One guy versus an army of 20,000 programmers and endless billions of dollars of deep pockets. So, it I would think one of the first couple times we did a Free Voice video, somebody like yelled at me, and somebody I know and for a long time and trust was like, my comments were removed. What kind of Free Voice is that? And I was like, no comments were removed. There's going to be some hiccups when one guy is trying to replace $100 billion infrastructure. So it will all we'll go live. It's better to start at Free Voice in terms of the full features and everything that Rob wants to offer. It's better to start now and just go through the hiccups than to wait a year and have everything we think perfect. Just be honest. Start it and then work the hiccups out as we go along. I don't think there's any other choice, but more on that coming very soon. And again, if anything ever, the platform is ready. I mean, if anything, I'm not worried about this platform anymore. If I wake up tomorrow and it's all gone, I don't care. We just go right over and we're ready to go at Free Voice, and we're close to doing that anyway. Thanks, guys.